Slowly, with a grinding sound like tectonic plates shifting, Commander Kalen moved. Not towards Thorn, not towards Lyria, but back towards his seat. He lowered his massive frame into the reinforced chair, the structure groaning under his weight. He didn't look at anyone. His gaze remained fixed on the fractured table surface before him, his mandibles still. The aggressive crimson energy fields around the Thargon delegation remained offline. Across the divide, Prelate Lyria's form gradually brightened, but not to its previous actinic intensity. It was a softer luminescence tinged with the subtle blues and violets of contemplation. She didn't resume her earlier posture of detached authority. Instead, she seemed to settle, her containment field stabilizing at a lower frequency, the resonant hums still absent. Her luminous eyes, now holding a depth Thorn hadn't seen before, shifted from him to Kalen, then back to the space between them. One of the senior mediators, a being of swirling gas and projected light representing the ancient Zephyrians, pulsed gently. Its translated voice, usually smooth and diplomatic, held a tremor of awe. The expression was unexpected. Its resonance is significant, significant, significant. An understatement that echoed in the silence. Thorn finally found his voice, though it emerged hoarse, scraped raw by emotion. "It is called Adagio for strings," he said, the name feeling both too grand and too small. Composed by Samuel Barber, a Terranite, speaks of loss, shared loss. He didn't elaborate. The music had spoken for itself. Kalen finally lifted his gaze, not with anger, but with a fierce, unsettling intensity. He looked directly at Thorn, his multiple eyes seeming to bore into him. "This sound," he rumbled, the grinding edge gone from his voice, replaced by a low thrum of confusion. "It aches, like the memory of a fallen clutch brood." He looked down at his own massive hands, clenching one slowly. "It makes the rock of the feel cold." Lyria's melodic voice, when it came, was softer, the glacial certainty thawed. The harmonic progression is simple, Ambassador Thorn, yet imbued with an emotional frequency of remarkable purity. It resonates with the elegy of vanished Tarsus, a lament for a world consumed by its own star in our early history. We sing it still, but, she paused, her light dimming momentarily, ... We sing the loss of light, of pattern. Your music sings the loss of being. It is disturbingly personal. A murmur, low and thoughtful, rippled through the elusian delegation. One of them, a younger seeming entity with quicker light pulses, emitted a soft, questioning chime. Lyria tilted her head slightly, listening to something inaudible to others. "There is consensus," she stated, her gaze returning to Thorn, then shifting pointedly towards Kalen. "The proposed exploitation, it would create such loss, not merely mineral, but resonant, profoundly so." The implication hung heavy. The asteroids weren't just rock. They were potential generators of cosmic sorrow on a scale the Adagio had just made horrifically tangible. Kalen shifted his bulk. The idea of cosmic sorrow clearly baffled him, but the feeling evoked by the music was undeniable. He looked from Lyria to the fractured table, then back to Thorn. "This Adagio, it is a weapon?" he asked, the concept seeming to intrigue and repel him simultaneously. Thorn shook his head emphatically. "No, Commander, not a weapon, a mirror, a reminder of what sentience truly costs, of what is lost when we choose destruction." He gestured vaguely, encompassing the chamber, the factions, the unseen billions their decisions would affect. "We all bear scars. We all know loss. That music, it comes from a world that died, by our own hand. We carry that grief like a shadow. Perhaps understanding that shadow in each other is the only way to step back from the brink." The silence returned, but it was different now. Less stunned, more contemplative. The mediators projected subtle, calming patterns onto the central dais. The immediate threat of violence had receded, replaced by a heavy, shared exhaustion and the unsettling echo of the Adagio. Kalen let out a long, slow exhalation that hissed through his vents. He looked at Lyria, not with challenge, but with a grudging, unfamiliar curiosity. "This resonance of yours, prelate, this elegy, you claim the asteroids sing." Lyria inclined her luminous head. "They hold a unique harmonic signature within the Xylos lattice, Commander. Disrupting it, it would be akin to silencing a vital chord in the symphony of that sector. The resulting dissonance." She paused, and for the first time, a flicker of something akin to fear crossed her projected features. It would be catastrophic, far beyond the mere destruction of the belt. It would scar the fabric, a wound that would weep sorrow for millennia. Her words echoed Thorn's own, but grounded in her people's understanding of cosmic harmony. Kalen grunted. He looked down at the spiderweb cracks his fist had made in the table. "Scars," he muttered. He looked up, his gaze sweeping over his own warriors. Thorn saw it then, not just confusion, but a dawning awareness of vulnerability, reflected in the stillness of his usually restless fighters. The Adagio hadn't just evoked sorrow. It had momentarily shattered the Thargon myth of invulnerable strength. The Zephyrian mediator pulsed again, seizing the fragile opening. "Honored delegates, the Terran ambassador has offered perspective, unique perspective. Perhaps it is time to revisit the table, not with demands, but with acknowledgement of the costs." To all, Kalen didn't agree. But he didn't roar dissent. He looked at Lyria. "Your scar, can it be measured? Proven?" Lyria's light brightened slightly. "It can be demonstrated, Commander Nonin, through harmonic resonance mapping. It would require cooperation." The word hung in the air. Cooperation. Unthinkable minutes before. Kalen stared at her for a long moment. Then, with a sound like boulders settling, he gave a single, sharp nod. "Demonstrate." Lyria, in turn, looked at Thorn. Her luminous gaze held a new weight, a respect that hadn't been there before. "Ambassador Thorn, your intervention has altered the harmonics of this negotiation. We would value Terra's presence as we proceed. Your perspective on loss may be pertinent." Thorn felt a wave of dizzying relief mixed with profound exhaustion. He carefully placed the violin back into its velvet-lined case, the click of the latch echoing softly. He looked at the two alien leaders, still separated by an abyss of culture and need, but no longer teetering on the edge of mutual annihilation. The Adagio hadn't solved anything, but it had carved out a space, fragile and fraught, where something other than threats could exist. It had forced them to see the shadow within themselves and each other. He took his seat, not at the periphery this time, but drawn forward by the mediators to a position closer to the central dais. The ancient violin case rested on his lap, a silent testament to the unexpected power of human sorrow. The negotiations were far from over. Distrust ran deep, but the language had changed. The brink had been stepped back from, not by force, but by the shared, humbling resonance of an adagio played on a recovered violin in the echoing silence of a galactic chamber. The edge of war remained, but for now, it was the edge of silence that held sway. And within that silence, fragile as the first note he had played, lay the possibility of something new.